the governor's very much in charge, but and maybe there's two places we can talk about that. One is his dealings with the Democrats on the budget, who want to spend more money, and secondly, in terms of transportation that I touched on, which is the governor talked about it 18 months ago in the State of the State, and we still haven't seen any movement there. But he's getting his way on the budget, so maybe John.
Well, I don't know. I have never been convinced, all due respect to the governor, somebody hiding in the corner when I say this, I've never been convinced that transportation was the top priority for the governor, that it was enough of a priority. I don't think he's put as much political capital behind that as, say, he's talked about. I mean, he's spent a lot of time talking about climate change on the international stage. He put more energy into the discussion over the MCO tax, the health care tax. Those were the two special sessions. I haven't seen it in that priority. I think the tax issue with Republicans and a 2/3 vote is difficult on transportation. But on the budget, my advice is over the next month, watch a particular portion of the budget, about $3.5 billion by my read, is going to be the real debate between Jerry Brown and his fellow Democrats. The governor wants to put an extra $2 billion into rainy day reserves, more than the law requires him to put. And he wants to spend $1.5 billion on state buildings. That $3.5 billion is the whole ballgame, in my opinion, of whether or not he's going to get his way or whether they get some program changes, some extra spending that they want. And I think that's their real fight over the next month. $170 billion state spending plan and $3.5 billion is kind of the whole football field to me.
Yeah, I think on the transportation thing, I agree with John that it's not. The governor's, State of the State, even this year, he kicked it off saying, that it's time for lawmakers to take this seriously, and we have to bite the bullet and step up and do extra fees and revenues. But I'm not convinced that it's ever been a priority for him either. Let's face it, transportation is not sexy in the way that a minimum wage is, where you can bring out real people and say that their lives are going to be changed by this. I mean, we all know that our lives might be changed when we commute to work.
Very much. Yeah.
Very much, but it's not. It doesn't have the same feeling, the same sexiness, for want of a better word. But it's a hard sell, and Republicans made a very good case for it. That last year that there was $7 billion in revenue, and yet you want to raise fees and taxes, and so. This is going to be a sticking point, and they made the case last year that this was going to be the year that this was going to happen. And then again, we heard this is going to be the year. It's essential, it's critical that this is the year that it happens. And we see locals coming together with state interests, and still we've seen no movement. It's been essentially stalled all year. So I don't know if there's any, unless the governor steps up and takes the leadership on it, because we have seen he's kind of been the one. He had to kick in the MCO tax. He had to step in and do the minimum wage. So unless he takes ownership of it, I don't know if it will move this year.
Can I just say just one other thought on it? And
Okay.
I think, just because I think it's instructive, I think the challenge with transportation, it's the problem in Sacramento of short-term thinking, long-term thinking.
Right.
Like, I mean, you can fix transportation for the next few years, right? But the gas tax is a problem long-term.
Right.
The way, I mean, it's a declining amount of money because of fuel-efficient vehicles. Long-term thinking in Sacramento are two terms that don't usually go together very well. And I think that's one of the problems.
Right, and it also doesn't fit in with the term-limited legislature in the sense of like minimum wage, and we can see that this will have an impact fairly quickly, and we can go and sell this to our constituents. But if your road in your neighborhood isn't getting fixed right now, and we're going to make a $36 billion commitment over the next decade, you might not see that in a tangible way when I go out and campaign next year.